Now to another breaking story this hour, and a pioneering European Space Agency satellite has finally fallen back to Earth.
Lake Michigan making the water we use every day that much better for us.
Fox 6's Brett Vickery gives us a look.
For years, Lake Michigan has remained one of the most enigmatic and mystifying of the Great Lakes, harboring stories of unexplained disappearances, strange weather patterns, and deep-water anomalies. But recently, a discovery made by a satellite orbiting high above Earth has reignited the eerie fascination with this vast body of water. Something massive and unmistakably in motion has been detected beneath its surface. Scientists who typically approach such findings with calm objectivity are now shaken. What the satellite confirmed is not just bizarre, it's something they never expected, and perhaps were never prepared to deal with. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. It all began when a routine pass of an advanced Earth-observing satellite designed primarily for geological and hydrological monitoring picked up irregular thermal signatures emanating from beneath Lake Michigan. These heat signals, normally associated with geological formations like underwater volcanoes or fault activity, did not match any known patterns. The satellite recorded a large, moving heat source, something shifting in shape, varying in depth, and, most concerning of all, migrating with purpose. Initially dismissed as an error or data artifact, further orbital sweeps confirmed the anomaly. Each pass revealed a consistent movement pattern, slowly gliding beneath the water at a depth of over 500 feet, tracking along a northern trajectory. The heat signatures didn't align with aquatic life or geological processes. This was not a school of fish, nor was it a drifting underwater current or thermal vent. This was an object, a massive coherent body distinct from its environment, maintaining direction and velocity. The implications of such a finding were staggering. For decades, Lake Michigan has been associated with unsolved mysteries, including unexplained shipwrecks, vanishing aircraft, and erratic compass readings. A vast region of the lake even holds the nickname the Lake Michigan Triangle, likened to the infamous Bermuda Triangle. Could this moving mass be a link to the unexplained phenomena long tied to this part of the lake? As the satellite data accumulated, scientists turned to sonar mapping. Vessels dispatched to the anomaly's approximate location returned data that left even the most skeptical experts disturbed. Echo sounders picked up a large form, roughly 200 feet in length, with a density unlike any known aquatic creature. It emitted low-frequency vibrations, almost rhythmic in nature, pulsating across the water like a heartbeat. These vibrations were strong enough to interfere with onboard instruments and caused mild turbulence on the lake's otherwise calm surface. Even more unnerving was the object's apparent awareness. When research vessels attempted to follow it, the form altered its trajectory slightly, as though evading observation. At times it slowed, as if resting, only to later accelerate again, diving deeper and temporarily vanishing from sonar tracking. It showed behaviors far beyond what would be expected from a passive geological feature. This wasn't just a mass of rock or gas pocket, it had intent, or at least it mimicked the kind of movement patterns associated with intelligent or instinct-driven motion. Attention turned to the structure of the lakebed itself. Deep-sea mapping revealed anomalies previously undocumented. Massive fissures and caves beneath the lake appeared to connect in labyrinthine networks, stretching hundreds of miles. Some scientists proposed the possibility of subterranean tunnels, remnants of glacial activity, or even older geological processes. But the recent activity pointed to the idea that something, or someone, was using these networks. As more data came in, satellite imaging began to reveal subtle disruptions on the lake's surface, corresponding to the object's movements. Ripples would form in near-perfect circles, despite no wind or rain present. Occasionally, these circles glowed faintly at night, a pale bluish hue emanating from the water as if reflecting something luminous below. Amateur lake watchers and residents along the shoreline began reporting strange lights beneath the waves, large, slow-moving orbs that glided silently just beneath the surface before disappearing into the depths. What had once been theoretical had now become impossible to ignore. Teams of geologists, marine biologists, and physicists were pulled into the investigation. Initial theories varied wildly: a dormant underlake volcano awakening, a prehistoric creature long thought extinct, or perhaps even an advanced form of unknown life adapting to the environment. But none of these theories satisfactorily explained the uniformity of the object's heat signature, its capacity to affect instruments, or its directional movement over time. Lake Michigan, while vast, is not the deep ocean. It's a closed freshwater system with a known ecological balance. Introducing an object of such mass and behavior disrupts more than just scientific expectations. It challenges the very framework of geological and biological knowledge. Nothing in the lake's known history, ecosystem, or geology accounted for this discovery. Yet it was there, undeniable and terrifying in its implications. One particularly alarming observation came during a night scan by a weather satellite. While monitoring storm activity, it detected a brief but intense burst of electromagnetic energy directly above the moving mass. This wasn't lightning. The pulse bore more resemblance to radar jamming interference, the kind that typically comes from military technology or from something with an active energy field. It had the effect of scrambling the satellite feed temporarily, but not before the data was retrieved. When scientists examined the burst pattern, they found it repeated every 48 hours, almost like a beacon or signal. Why would something beneath Lake Michigan be emitting a signal? That question alone has provoked intense debate. Some theorists point to natural phenomena like piezoelectric activity, where pressure on quartz rock creates electrical discharges. But that typically occurs along known fault lines or with extreme tectonic activity, neither of which apply to the lake's flat, glacially carved basin. Others have dared to ask whether the signals might not be natural at all. Could something under the lake be communicating? The fear deepened when marine life began to react. Fish populations in affected areas changed behavior. Sonar readings recorded massive schools of fish avoiding certain depths, clustering along shorelines in irregular patterns. A few species vanished entirely from their usual territories. The lake's natural equilibrium was being disturbed, and the only new variable was the presence of this unknown entity. Birds flying over the lake were recorded suddenly veering off course, often refusing to cross the water at all. Migratory patterns shifted slightly, with certain bird species now avoiding their historical routes. Even local mammals appeared to be agitated. Residents near the shoreline reported increased animal activity, deer wandering into towns, raccoons emerging in daylight, and foxes howling into the water at night. While some of these could be coincidental, the timing coincided eerily with the movements of the object beneath the lake. Yet, perhaps the most disturbing development came when sensors placed along the lakebed began to detect low, rumbling sounds at frequencies just below human hearing, subsonic tones that scientists describe as similar to earth groaning. These pulses occurred at irregular intervals, but always aligned with the presence of the moving mass. To those studying the data, it was reminiscent of sonar, but not from any known vessel or creature. It was as though something deep beneath the lake was scanning, searching, or communicating with something unseen. What's most confounding is that the object never surfaces. It remains hidden, traveling in patterns, staying deep, avoiding detection when possible. Despite all efforts to identify its nature, be it biological, mechanical, or geological, there is still no definitive answer. All that's known is that it is real, it is massive, and it is moving. And whatever it is, it seems to know that it's being watched. Geological records were combed for precedent. Strangely, there are indigenous legends from tribes that lived along the shores of Lake Michigan centuries ago. Stories spoke of great spirits beneath the lake, protectors or watchers that would stir when the balance of nature was threatened. These tales were always seen as allegorical, until now. Could there be truth buried within the folklore? Something ancient, long dormant, only now awakening? The satellite data continues to flow in, each pass revealing new movements, new heat patterns, new disruptions in the electromagnetic field. Whatever is moving beneath Lake Michigan is not behaving randomly. Its route, though subtle, has begun to repeat. It's as if the entity follows a path, perhaps an ancient trail etched into the lakebed itself, or a cycle dictated by forces yet unknown. Even more chilling is the realization that the object is gradually drawing closer to the shoreline. What was once deep in the central basin is now a mere few miles off the coast. If it continues its path unaltered, it will arrive near land within weeks. No one can predict what might happen if it surfaces, or worse, if it has no intention of stopping. Those monitoring the lake are now on edge, working around the clock. Observation posts have been set up along the shore, and a no-fly zone has quietly been established over portions of the lake. The public has not been officially informed, but murmurs are spreading. People living near the water report feeling strange vibrations, hearing distant echoes like mechanical grinding, or seeing unexplainable lights dancing beneath the surface during quiet nights. Something is coming, or perhaps something has always been there, waiting for the right moment. The scientific community remains divided. Some urge caution, claiming the object could still have a natural explanation no matter how bizarre. Others are convinced this is a discovery of unprecedented magnitude, one that could redefine our understanding of freshwater ecosystems, geology, or even the nature of life on Earth. But there is a smaller, quieter group of researchers who are no longer asking what it is, but why now? Why has this presence remained hidden until this precise moment in history? Is it responding to environmental changes, human interference? Or is this part of a larger cycle, one that we were simply too blind to see before? Whatever the answer, one truth is clear. Lake Michigan is no longer just a lake. It is a stage for something ancient, vast and unknown, something that moves with deliberate silence beneath its depths, beyond our comprehension, and possibly beyond our control. And the eyes of the world are turning toward it. While the scientific teams continue their relentless pursuit to understand what lies beneath Lake Michigan, a shift is taking place in how this phenomenon is being approached. Traditional methods have hit a wall. Satellite scans, sonar sweeps, submersibles, and thermal imaging all have brought back evidence, but no clarity. The object continues to move, and now, after weeks of tracking, it's clear that it isn't wandering aimlessly. It follows a pattern too structured to be random, but too complex to easily decipher. An interdisciplinary team of analysts has been assembled, bringing together not just geologists and marine biologists, but mathematicians, cryptographers, and signal processing experts. Their focus is no longer solely on what the object is, but what it might be doing. And one aspect has them especially unnerved: the rhythm of its movement, the recurring pulses of energy, the cyclical bursts of sound, and the faint but precise electromagnetic fluctuations seem to follow a code, not a simple one either. The sequence resembles a complex algorithm, like a language built on timing and frequency rather than words or symbols. This shifts the possibility away from nature and towards something more structured, engineered. If this is true, the implications spiral into a realm of speculation that borders on existential. Nothing within our known history has ever indicated the presence of artificial intelligence or sentient control beneath the Great Lakes, and yet the data continues to defy natural explanation. At precisely 2:47 a.m. every third night, the lake emits a burst of infrared radiation that escapes into the atmosphere, rising almost vertically. It's brief, less than 0.8 seconds, but strong enough to be detected by satellites monitoring thermal emissions. On the same nights, seismic sensors pick up tiny but unmistakable tremors along specific points of the lake bed, in perfect synchronization with the infrared burst. No natural process can account for this kind of regular, coordinated activity across both electromagnetic and geological spectrums. The patterns resemble the kind of synchronization seen in machine protocols or coordinated systems operating under a singular command structure. It's as though the lake itself is hosting something not just alive, but organized. A radical theory has gained traction among some in the inner research circle. It suggests the presence of a submerged installation, a long-buried structure or device capable of generating energy, motion, and signals, all while remaining hidden for centuries. Perhaps this object isn't moving independently, but is part of something far larger buried below, with only a portion of it mobile and observable. This theory would explain why the object never surfaces and why only segments of its presence are detectable. It may not be a singular entity, but a component, one node of a greater system. The lakebed's topography supports this possibility. Newly generated scans have revealed near-perfect geometric patterns in sediment displacement and mineral layering. These patterns are not aligned with glacial deposits or underwater currents, but appear carved into the lake floor in regular intervals. Straight lines, 90-degree angles, and intersections that span hundreds of meters now show up in imaging, like blueprints buried in the earth. No known natural process can generate patterns with this level of mathematical precision. Adding another layer of complexity is the increasing disruption of electromagnetic equipment used in the lake's vicinity. Boats experience interference with GPS systems. Compass needles swing erratically. Drones flown over specific coordinates lose signal entirely and plummet into the water without warning. These anomalies are not random. They occur in concentric circles surrounding the moving mass, suggesting a field of influence, an active zone where natural laws are subtly altered or overwhelmed by an artificial force. These disruptions are spreading. As the object nears the western shoreline, the zone of interference has grown. Not only is it affecting vessels on the water, but terrestrial infrastructure as well. Power substations near the lake have reported unexplained surges and system resets. Communications towers along the shore are registering background static never before recorded. Even private citizens using household electronics are noticing odd phenomena. Smartphones losing connectivity, radios picking up distorted low-frequency hums, televisions flickering momentarily with static images that disappear too quickly to capture. And always just beneath the surface, the object continues its slow, deliberate path. In the midst of these developments, a new twist emerged. One that has pushed this mystery far beyond the borders of science. In a heavily restricted naval archive, researchers uncovered a declassified sonar log from 1968. It recorded a similar pattern of movements and energy spikes beneath Lake Michigan, but the data was suppressed and never made public. At the time, the anomaly was attributed to Cold War paranoia, perhaps a Soviet submarine test or sensor malfunction. But the coordinates matched today's path with uncanny precision. This event has happened before, but for some reason the activity ceased abruptly and the phenomenon went dormant for over 5 decades. Why has it returned now? Environmental shifts in the lake have been cited as possible triggers. Rising water temperatures, increased pollution levels, microplastic concentrations all point to ecological stress. Could the presence below be responding to these signals? Is it monitoring the lake or attempting to stabilize it in some incomprehensible way? Alternatively, could it be that human activity, perhaps the deployment of deep lake sensors or undersea mining initiatives, has awakened something that had long remained inactive? Despite its ominous presence, the object has made no overtly aggressive actions. But its indifference is almost more unnerving. It doesn't react with hostility. It simply ignores attempts at contact, like an elephant brushing past insects. The sense of insignificance it imposes on observers is overwhelming. This isn't something that belongs to us, or even recognizes us. It operates on a scale we can barely perceive. Meanwhile, small groups of independent researchers and fringe theorists are drawing comparisons to ancient underwater structures discovered in other parts of the world, like the Yonaguni Monument off Japan or the Bimini Road in the Bahamas. They question whether Lake Michigan could be home to a forgotten civilization or an ancient artifact buried by glacial shifts during the last ice age. It's a controversial theory, to say the least. But with each unexplained development, it garners more attention. If there truly is a subterranean structure under the lake, the implications reach into the prehistory of human civilization. Were we here before? Or did something else arrive long before we did? More pressing than historical speculation, however, is the reality that something is approaching. As of the latest tracking data, the object is just under 10 miles from the western shore, nearing a part of the lake surrounded by several major towns and cities. Researchers are increasingly concerned about what might happen when it reaches shallower waters. Will it stop? Will it change course? Or will it rise? Local authorities are in a bind. They've been given enough information to know there is an ongoing situation, but not enough to understand its scope. A subtle lockdown has already begun. Fishing in affected areas has been temporarily restricted for safety assessments. Commercial shipping lanes have been rerouted under the guise of underwater geological surveying. A surveillance blimp now hovers over the lake, masked as a meteorological tool. The public remains largely unaware, but rumors are beginning to swirl on local forums and social media. Videos of glowing lights in the water are quickly taken down. Users who post coordinates are quietly silenced. It's clear an effort is being made to control the narrative until more answers can be found. But the question remains, what if the object doesn't stop at the shore? If it continues inland, the terrain becomes rockier, less saturated with water. It would have to surface. That scenario is the most alarming for those studying the object, not because it might emerge violently, but because the very act of surfacing may unleash unknown energy patterns or environmental consequences. The pressures and temperatures it has withstood in the lake's depths may not be compatible with the open air. Could it release gases, radiation, electromagnetic pulses? Alternatively, if it is indeed a vessel or probe, it may not be alone. If it's part of a network, an exploratory node of a larger system, then its surfacing could trigger activation of other entities hidden elsewhere. What happens if Lake Michigan is only the first? Scientists are now deploying new equipment that can monitor deeper frequencies and probe further beneath the lake bed. Autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs equipped with high-definition cameras, robotic arms, and thermal sensors have been launched. Some return with blurred footage, oddly distorted as if passing through a medium that refracts light and sound in unpredictable ways. Others do not return at all. No matter what is ultimately revealed, the fact remains. Something beneath Lake Michigan defies categorization. It is active, it is deliberate, and it is nearing the surface. Whether it is a machine, a life form, or a remnant of something long lost, it stands as a challenge to our understanding of reality. A reminder that not everything on this planet has been discovered, and that sometimes the most astonishing truths lie not in the stars, but hidden just beneath our feet, waiting for the right moment to rise. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on what's beneath Lake Michigan? What do you expect happens next? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.